This and every episode of REKT Podcast is brought to you by Beaksy Exchange, an upcoming cryptocurrency exchange built in collaboration with One Market Data. Beaksy is bringing legacy finance speed, power, and sophistication to crypto for the first time. With 225,000 transactions per second per pair, comparable to NASDAQ, 15 order types on day one, with 25 order types on full rollout, and a dedicated customer support team, Beaksy is setting itself apart from the competition. Check out Beaksy today at Beaksy.com and pre-register today at Beaksy.com/registration to get your free Beaksy Exchange tokens. That's Beaksy.com, BEAXY.com.
I'm Nick Cote, and this is REKT.
Hello and welcome to REKT Podcast. I am Bunchu alongside my esteemed colleague and co-host, Chamber. Chamber, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's Monday. Worst day of the week's over with. We're doing a show. I'm feeling pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I saved this story for you. I didn't tell you a pre-show.
We've been on, and we've been on for a while too. You've been keeping this holstered.
Yeah, so I'm traveling for business, as I am one to do every single fucking week. And so I packed my car, and I had dry cleaning that I was putting in the car. And I said to my fiance, hey, could you carry my dry cleaning out? And she said, yeah. And so she puts it in my car. I drive 6 hours to my location, only to get here and realize I don't have any of my shirts. And since I did not put them in the car, I did not check. And so I had to make an emergency Macy's run and buy some shirts. And then I realized I don't know how to fucking buy a shirt. I don't know what size my neck is. I don't know what size my sleeves are.
16 and a half?
I bought a 16 and a half. That's correct.
See, look at me.
Anyway, but that's my life today. But we have an awesome guest on with us today. A very knowledgeable trader, Nick Cote. How are you, man?
Hey, man. Doing pretty well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So it is 8 o'clock p.m. for us. What time is it for you where you are, and where around the world are you?
I'm from the future in relative terms, 7:18 a.m. on a Tuesday morning here in Chiang Mai, Thailand.
So the worst day of the week is definitely over for you. That's awesome.
For me, Mondays are the best days of the week. People are off from the weekend, and they're ready to get rolling again for a new week.
That's awesome. Yeah, especially for trading. So that's awesome. We are excited to have you. You were mentioning a little bit before the show that, we were talking about your nationality. As Chamber pointed out, you may have been Canadian, and you said, I don't like nationalities. So I said, Bitcoin is borderless, so why shouldn't we be? And I think that's a good way to start. So international man of Bitcoin is what you are.
Yeah, it's Bitcoin, something you can take anywhere and not have to worry about exchanging into local currencies or carrying currencies with you. It's just the optimal method of payment worldwide.
Absolutely, and I think it's a good place to start. You also mentioned you've been living exclusively off of Bitcoin for the last 6 years, so let's start here. Let's talk a little bit about how you got into crypto and Bitcoin, and how you got to where you are today.
Sure, yeah, so I'd say the first time I was just reading the white paper after I was waiting for I worked in the oil fields before, so the work came and go between the projects, and I just read the white paper, thought it was pretty interesting, and at that time, it's probably late 2012, early 2013, and I originally just bought Bitcoin to buy Dogecoin, and because I just, what was this thing? It was cheap, right? So one of the phenomenons that we'd seen a lot in the run-up in 2017 was people were more interested in buying Litecoin, XRP, or whatever the whatever the coin was. It just couldn't be Bitcoin because there's no way I can afford one singular Bitcoin, right? So they just didn't understand that you could have just a fraction of a Bitcoin. So I was in that similar mindset early on. I was like, well, Bitcoin's already at, a few $100. Maybe I've missed the boat, but hey, here's Dogecoin. It's only at 1 or 2 cents, right? So I'm going to buy a coin, and I'm going to buy some Dogecoin. And I got in at the first pump with one of the famous pumpers named Wolong, and that was my big kickoff when I first had a pretty big win through that, and I realized, wow, I can make money online. So at that point, I decided to quit my work and just do crypto 24/7, 365. Thought I would give it 10 years of my life, looking back on the path of the development for the internet, and taken about 10 years for it to hit mainstream after its original development in the early 70s. And we're almost 10 years in now, and I think it's worked out pretty well.
You really are from the goddamn future, aren't you?
Yeah.
You are a time traveler, future teller with a crystal ball. That's pretty cool. So you were originally turned on by Dogecoin then. We've talked to a lot of people, and it sounds like there was two pathways. It was Bitcoin or Dogecoin at that time, and you either got in for one way or another. So were you a trader beforehand?
No, not really. I had no trading background. I knew a little bit about how money was created, debt slavery, and all that stuff. So I was kind of libertarian a lot at the start of things. And slowly, screw the banks, screw the institutions. We can do this ourselves. We'll burn them all to the ground.
Was that after you watched Zeitgeist?
Oh yeah, I watched them all. Mendham, all that good stuff, right? The four Horsemen. Actually, the Four Horsemen is a really great documentary.
It is. I've seen that one too.
Yeah, precursors Bitcoin. People will know Max Kaiser from that. But a lot of the issues that they were talking about, they were all like hinting around what the solution could be. This democratic, out of the control of central bank currency. And sure enough, a few years later from the publishing date of that documentary, Bitcoin came out and stuff. So, yeah, I would say originally I was pretty libertarian, but as I've developed myself and my contacts in the space and seen the space develop, I've come more to just be okay with the regulations, and because that allows for the institutional money to enter the market. I think we've seen, prior to a lot of the regulations getting enforced through the SEC, et cetera, and the other channels, a lot of scams, a lot of shady behavior. And having regulations in place, it protects a lot of people and the retail investors, because I think as we've shown with people getting blown out as they did in all the bubble runs, people need those protections because a lot of the time they just don't do the critical thinking or research for themselves, and they're very easily influenced.
That's a fact.
That's okay, Chamber. I'll protect you. I want to go back for a minute because you said it in passing really quick, but there's probably so many people that have no idea who or what a Wolong is. Can you explain for those who may have gotten in a little later, who that is and kind of what the legend is?
Yeah, so Wolong was this mysterious figure. At the time, you got to understand the market cap of Bitcoin and all these altcoins is very small. So the amount of capital needed to move those markets around in extravagant terms of percentage-wise was very small. So he was the ringleader of a coordinated pump and dump group essentially, and they pumped a lot of coins, Blackcoin, Dogecoin. Honestly, too many to remember. It used to be so easy back in 2013, 2014. Every Sunday there would be a pump on MintPal, which was one of the exchanges famously run by, eventually MintPal 2 by the Moolah team. Ryan Kennedy, he eventually got taken down on unrelated sex charges, I believe.
Oh, but, my.
Yeah, that's just, again, one of the examples of the bad actors that can flourish when there's no lights put on you, right? In terms of regulations and oversight and things. But yeah, so this guy just ran a pump group. It was pretty well coordinated. He had a mythology. I believe the document called God Doc or something is still out there, and it basically just describes how market manipulation takes place, and they'll just put up giant buy walls. It gets people excited. Oh, there's so much demand for this market, so they try and front run those orders. And then sure enough, since the spreads are very wide on the ask side because they already control a large majority of the supply, so they create the large spreads on the asks. The FOMO kicks in. The price just starts to skyrocket, And boom, sure enough, when you think you're about to make some coin, all the bids are pulled and the market makers are then dumping on you. And this was the 101 mythology of that group. There were a lot of those groups over those years, right? Just again, flourishing in the new regulatory environment was the name of the game. So, and at those prices, it's also a lot easier to make Bitcoin, right? Well, and lose it as well. There's plenty of stories of people losing everything under $300.
So how'd you get your first Bitcoin?
I originally purchased it through an old Canadian exchange of all places called Volta Satoshi. Originally, I was trying to purchase through Mt. Gox, but it was very difficult to use money transfer services. There was like money online, money transfer. It took weeks to move stuff in there. And luckily, I did not go through there because, the Goxing event shortly after that. And I believe Volta Satoshi, the company, the people behind it, they pivoted to become like a Netflix VPN service. So,
really?
Yeah, they chose
a smart pivot.
They chose pretty poorly in that sense. But the Canadian market was very small at the time and still relatively is.
Canadian Netflix is still shit too, by the way.
I hear that. And VPNs are a great thing to have for Netflix when you're traveling anyways now.
Shout out to Netflix Canada. Their Twitter account is fire, and you have gotten better over the last years.
Oh, in case Netflix Canada is listening.
Honestly, one of the funniest follows on Twitter. Not even joking. I don't know who runs that one, but it is fire.
My favorite is speaking of movies, one of my favorite follows on Twitter, I don't even know if they still tweet, is the fake Blockbuster account.
Oh, like the one from Alaska?
Yeah, and I don't know, it's not an actual Blockbuster account. I'll have to find it and post it, but it's pretty funny. But anyway, all right, cool. So how then, if you didn't have much trading experience, where did that kind of pivot come from, where you went, okay, now I need to learn how to trade and kind of become almost a full-time trader at that point?
Yeah, so I'd say at that point, once I had the original interest, I was just looking for like-minded people, right? So I was just, going through Bitcoin talk forums, Reddit, when there's not many people on there, Twitter, there was some luck there. That's when I started to grow my following. But the big win for me was discovering the Whale Club hangouts that originally were streaming on Google here. It was with BTC Vix, Flibber, a bunch of other OG people who unfortunately didn't make the cut. And that eventually branched off into the Telegram groups and the TeamSpeak groups. And at that time, the community was probably, less than 1 million people. So it was very tight-knit. And everyone just wanted to, talk about it 24/7 and keep an eye on the market movements. So I just surrounded myself with people who were smarter and more informed than me. And, I shut up and listened for a while. And originally just started with horizontal lines. I didn't understand why I was using those, other than this is support and resistance. Obviously, now I understand it's all just about that's where liquidity pools in one area and develops an order block, and that's what is actually horizontal resistance and support. But at the time, I was just drawing lines. There was no advanced techniques or anything to it. I didn't even have TradingView open, and it was just kind of going back, shooting the shit with people back and forth on TeamSpeak. And then through that, people, it's like a circular revolving door of personalities. So you got a pretty good, diverse set of people coming in there who are willing to share their knowledge and point you to different resources, help develop those resources. I'd say early on, the community was a lot more inclusive as well, in the sense that you would have a lot of the exchange owners, anyone who was building anything, they wanted your feedback, right? I think we all had the understanding, this could be something big. And we should work with these people early on so we can help influence the design of these exchanges. And, Phil Potter was on there a lot on TeamSpeak in the early days. And, it was just good to shoot the shit with them and get more of an institutional perspective, because they had the, 20 plus years of experience in the legacy side. So they brought a lot of knowledge to the crypto space. That was really valuable.
So what are some resources that you would recommend for somebody that's new to Bitcoin or trading or just starting out? Where would you recommend them to go?
Yeah, I guess if you're just looking for, Bitcoin information on a technical level, Jameson Lopp, I believe Lopp.net, has put together a really good category of information there. I'm sure there'll be a link in the box there. From a trading perspective, I definitely recommend just doing due diligence with people on Twitter. Like I said, I think it's pretty well rounded at this point. There's a lot of people who have proven that they have the ability to trade at a high level. But the biggest thing I would say, again, is just being able to do your due diligence and make sure that the people that you're following or you're interacting with have similar incentives as you, and they're not just paid shills looking to sell you something, right? At that point, the incentives aren't really aligned from a game theory point of view. I think there's a lot of good resources out there on YouTube. I think there's a lot of good resources out there for the podcasts. Shout out to Satoshi Moku. He's been putting out educational content for years. So I definitely recommend people follow him. There's a lot of good information out there on Telegram groups, but I find a lot of the time in the public chats, especially the larger ones, there's a lot of noise. People, everyone's just looking for the next coin, the next target, right?
Sure.
So, I think a lot of the time you're going to come into a group, you're going to identify, who the people are that know what they're talking about, and maybe you're going to drop in their DMs or something and get put into smaller, more focused groups and stuff. I think Discord, there's a lot of good groups out there as well. So it's been interesting to watch the evolution of the mediums of where people hang out and stuff, moving away just exclusively from TeamSpeak, as I mentioned in the earlier days.
For sure. So you mentioned obviously Twitter, and Twitter has exploded with information, and some good, some bad. And you got people out there posting charts like yourself. What is it like to be on Twitter posting charts? How is that as somebody who puts his stuff out there all the time, good, bad, ugly? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, like a lot of the time, I'm not looking necessarily to grow my following. I've never had an intention of turning it into a monetized business or anything. I just wanted a place to keep myself honest, I guess, because normally when you're sharing stuff publicly like that, you're going to get criticized if you flip-flop back and forth. It's similar to just having a public trading journal, right? And for me, it's more so about just keeping myself in check. And it's a check and balance system, and more so just proving that my perspective on the market and how I view things and how I'm thinking is correct. So it's not necessarily about, I'm not always trading the charts that I'm posting, right? On a lot of these altcoins and stuff, I'm kind of just appeasing what people want to see, right? But for Bitcoin and stuff, it's just, mainly making sure that my way of thinking and how I'm looking at the market is correct, and just, for me, I get more satisfaction out of being right than having a huge win or something like that, right? At this point where I'm at right now, risk management's your number one thing. You see a lot of people posting, these huge 100x wins, but what they don't post is the huge 100x losses.
Right, exactly.
And those definitely come hand in hand, right? So are you going to be the guy who's, really, really strict with their risk management, their money management? And generally, I've always said this over the years, I do less, well, even now, like less than 1% of my stack is put into trading accounts. Even less of that is put into each of these positions, right? And of course, like the amount of coin and dollars that you're putting into each position in terms of a percent is relative to the amount you have. So it's going to be different for everyone. But I think, people try and get rich quick here. And I've seen so many, thousands and thousands of people, they come in, they have a nice stack, and, no risk management, and they're gone the next day, right? So it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You hear that term a lot, but it's completely true. And I think you see a lot of professional poker players in this space because their talent set with money management and risk management just translates really, really well to cryptocurrency. So some of the most successful traders I know used to be professional poker players until they got squeezed out of that market. Because a lot of our AI and machine learning and just the automation that is taken up in the poker space, there's not enough liquidity to really squeeze.
That's super interesting. Do you get a lot of trolls?
Yeah, The XRP army is out there strong. The Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Cash, Craig White believers are out there strong.
Do you guys not get the feeling that song's almost done?
Yeah. I've been raising the alarm on that guy for a while. But their strategy is to create a lot of noise and distract people. The real play with Craig White and that crew and Enchain and Entrust, all this information it's crazy. It's like people again just really suck at doing due diligence and research. A lot of their play is out there. Like their play isn't Bitcoin fucking SV, right? Excuse my language, but pretty.
No, you're good on here.
Pretty passionate about that. They're after the patents, right? And you can go out there and Google this information and see that's been their game the entire time. They just wanted to devise. They wanted to make it look like this guy was Satoshi. They would then use the clout and the identity of that guy to validate the IP rights to these patents and then sell those patents for billions of dollars later on. Because if you actually look at the patent listings, like there's thousands, right, at this point. And of course, Craig White's not the only company to have patents. There's Coinbase, Fidelity Investments, Blockstream as well. But he's patented some interesting stuff, even just peer-to-peer transactions using cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Even just the technology behind DEXs, right? Like very fundamental infrastructure stuff that you wouldn't think that one person can patent. He has. So it's very important that people remain vigilant and aware of what he's doing through the courts, because that's how he's looking to validate himself. Like, just because you can sign a pair of keys, that doesn't prove your identity, right? Like, I could give you my keys, you could blackmail me for my keys, etc., and then just sign that. Sign using those keys. That doesn't necessarily prove that's me, right? And I think that's the case that we're going to be seeing from Craig White as he goes through these legal channels. So you've seen a lot of him trying to falsify documents. Recently that email got withdrawn because the dates didn't line up on the hash. And I thought it was crazy that the judge even allowed that, to be honest. Like, you're just submitting fraudulent information and documents, and then it's just okay to withdraw that just because he gets caught doing it. It's very interesting, but I definitely think people need to stay super vigilant about that. So whatever the catalyst is, like Peter McCormick from the Let's Talk Bitcoin podcast, or not
What
podcast.
Bitcoin Did,
that's right, that podcast. He's taking up the charge on that. So you've seen a lot more interest into what's going on over there. And recently, obviously, the exchanges with the delist SV movement. I think it's nice, it's novel, but unless we have full cooperation of all the exchanges, liquidity will migrate, so they'll still have a place to live. But it is a big hit not having Binance. They got 40% of the market share in terms of volume, and not being on Binance is definitely a hit to any project. So
did Kraken not remove them as well?
Yeah, Kraken removed them.
A whole bunch of places.
Yeah, Shapeshift as well. But unfortunately, the guys from OKX over there, they've created BitcoinSV Float. I believe they're launching another SV-centric exchange, which is basically just like a reskin of OKCoin. So, they're trying to hedge their bet, right?
Right.
Interesting. That's the whole issue is interesting. I think you make a really good point about the patent part of it. I was just watching. Do you guys watch Silicon Valley?
Oh, I love that show.
On HBO. Yeah, so I was just watching some older ones from last season, actually, and there's the episode literally about the patent troll, and he buys these. He bought the like Mexican song, and he was suing artists, and he sued the Pied Piper guys because he falls under this generic patent, and just the whole idea of the patents and what he's trying to do with those is very interesting. So just made me think of that for sure.
There's a lot of little schemes like that, similar to like domain squatting, right? You wouldn't think it's a profitable business, but some of these domains go for millions and millions of dollars.
REKTpodcast.com if we are open to offers.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So that's a great start. So let's talk. We've talked a little bit about trading and how you've gotten into it and stuff. We wouldn't be REKT Podcast if we didn't ask you if you have any crypto REKT stories since you got started.
Yeah, like originally early on, I was trying to, after I got the initial sense of what this was, I wanted to get more and more involved, right? So I think the next step was to get involved with projects, get involved with exchanges. I think I would probably say that I have two good REKT stories. The first one being most recently One Broker. This was a project, and to talk more on the inclusivity of the early on, like I got to work with the One Broker team early on. I think it started around like 2014. I just sent them a message on Facebook. Cool product. I like what you're doing. How can I help? And at that time, they had less than 50 people, right? And they were offering CFDs using Bitcoin and stuff. And I think it's, having access to other markets using this asset class is very important. I heard, on one of Arthur Hayes' recent podcasts with Luke Martin, that they invested in a company that's doing something very similar. And anyways, so, but One Broker grew up. It had around 50,000 people. And then one day, you go to log on the website, and the website's seized by the SEC. The DOJ, right?
That was wild.
It was a real shot across the bow for the community. They were obviously in the wrong in the sense that they didn't collect a lot of KYC at all or have a KYC procedure in place. But this was normal practices, right? This, BitMEX, the same thing. Simple FX, a lot of other services that didn't collect KYC, Shapeshift, for example. You saw once that shot across the bow with One Broker happened, overnight, all of a sudden everyone started caring about compliance. They're hiring these compliance teams, starting to run KYC checks, so they
don't mess around anymore.
No, they don't. Like, they took out the little guy. So, I always I heard this one term on this Betting on Bitcoin documentary on Netflix. One guy says the first guy through the door normally gets shot. And I think that's exactly what happened to One Broker, but it definitely served as a lesson for all these other larger exchanges and services that the Wild West of crypto is basically over, right? You need to comply or get shut down. So it sucked. Like, it offered a great platform. There was never any loss of user funds. There was never any complaints or anything, and it was a great service out there. And it was like it was disheartening, really. Like, it was exciting to watch this business grow over the years. And at the time, they just launched OneFox, which was a similar, competitor to BitMEX. And their big claim to fame was the social trading, right? Similar to what eToro offers. So you can follow top traders, and right. you get a percentage of the cut and all that stuff. But so that was disheartening. The other one, as I was involved with a project early on called Horizon, which was an offshoot of the coin called NXT. And, timing in business is everything, right? Like, you can have a great idea, but if there's no interest at the time, it dies, right? And, NXT and Horizon at the time, they had name identity, asset swaps, asset issuing. So, like, the concept of tokenization, it was a dream back then. So, like, imagine you have your own company, right? You're not able to raise an IPO yourself because, you're a small startup or just a home business, but you have a really good idea. You have a really good business and you want to raise capital. So the idea of just being able to launch your asset and publicize that asset and get people, individual investors to invest it through an issued asset, that's the idea of, like, tokenizing the world and stuff, making things more accessible to people and being able to get good ideas out there. And, the check and balance system is are you going to invest in a shitty idea? Probably not, right? So that was the idea of that, and all that existed on Horizon platform early on. So we thought it was a dead project. We put together a decent team, had some good marketing behind it, and unfortunately, things were kicking off. Price was moving up a little bit. Development was moving forward. We had made our first product release, and then all of a sudden, the original owner comes back, the silver NXT guy, and he has a huge amount of the supply. So I wake up to just, my phones are going crazy, alarms are going off, and this guy has market dumped like 10% of the supply on Poloniex. And,
no.
Yeah. So that was a nightmare, for anyone. So a lot of crisis management after that, eventually what we did, the solution was to buy this guy out. But, it's not something you want to wake up to. You've had 10% of your supply dumped and the market price is down, 60% in one glorious candle, right?
Holy cow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was brutal.
I mean, I just saw one of those flash crashes go on the other day. I don't remember what coin it was on, but I saw somebody post a little video of the chart on like the 5-minute candle or something, and it went all the way down. I think it was like WTC or something. Did any of you guys see that?
I didn't.
Oh man, it just went this crazy wick down to like a single Satoshi from like 5,200 or something.
Really? I'm trying to remember what the coin was, but even Bitcoin early on has had flash crashes down to like 1 cent and stuff.
I remember when I first got in. Back in like early-ish 2017, like Q2 maybe, and there was like that Ethereum flash crash to 10 cents or something, and everybody was going insane. It was wild. Imagine picking up 10-cent Ethereum because of a flash crash.
And that's that's a good strategy. Well, it's an odd event to have happen, but if you have some extra capital just sitting around, throw in those stink bids. You never know what's going to, especially on the illiquid markets, right?
Yeah.
All it takes is a fat finger. A lot of these exchanges don't necessarily have protections in place to protect against that. So, maybe you'll get lucky. You have that 4,100% return in a couple minutes.
Chamber, go put Marty, some one Satoshi beds. Chamber, what are you holding? Well, nothing particularly, but I do have 380 one Satoshi bids out on every coin.
Everybody's banking on Bitcoin. I'm banking on Flash Crash.
That's exactly right. That's so funny. You're going to be Flash Crash Millionaire. That's going to be your Mexican wrestling name, Flash Crash Millionaire.
I like it.
All right, Nick, what do you see where we are? Like, what do you see in the market now? Like, we obviously just had these big run-ups to, around 5,300, everything like that. Where do you see the Bitcoin market now, Ethereum market now, and crypto in general?
Yeah, I think, I'll start off with the market space in general. Like I said, I think we've really moved out of the Wild West. I think we've seen a huge surge of liquidity, even in this, bear market. The volumes are still, 10x of what they used to be just a couple of years ago. So I think we're going through a lot of institutionalization right now. I've said in previous talks that, selling your coin here or, at any time, you're basically just selling to institutions or governments. And people right now really don't understand or value the scarcity of this asset class. I work a lot in the OTC space, so you see a lot of, big dick fucking fiat rollers coming in, and they're always
big
trying
dick
to get
fiat rollers. Yo, that's Chamber. That's the hashtag
100%.
Of the episode. Big dick fiat roller is definitely the hashtag of the episode. That's a gem. That's also a T-shirt.
Yeah. Like I just find they overvalue their position with their fiat currency. Right? There's unlimited fiat. The central banks are pretty brazen about saying, we can print unlimited amounts of this stuff, right? But there's not unlimited amounts of Bitcoin. So, and a lot of the time in commerce, if you're buying something in bulk, you expect a discount, right? But that's just not the case with this asset class. You're going to be paying a premium price. And I think as demand continues to pick up, and as institutional products such as lending, especially, and eventually an ETF. I'm pretty sure there's an ETF that's going to come through. It's just a matter of developing the proper market transparency in the OTC market and things. Once that comes through, where are they going to be getting that coin from, right? They're going to get it from the OTC markets, but there's only so much of that coin to go around. So I think just people are undervaluing the scarcity. I think people are undervaluing what privacy means. And, once the war on cash is complete, people are going to have the harsh realization that, wow, I don't have any more financial privacy anymore, right? So obviously Bitcoin's not anonymous in any way. Of course, there's tools to help you with that, and maybe in the future Bitcoin is more anonymous. But people are going to be looking for alternatives, right? So I think right now we're just going through a phase of institutionalization, regulation and enforcement. It started off very broad. It's getting, more precise now. We're seeing more guidelines on specific topics such as ICOs. We're seeing a lot more regulations into the OTC space, which is crucial because if you look at the wording of a lot of these ETF rulings, they're looking for transparency in the OTC market, right? These these institutions aren't going to be sourcing coin from the open spot market because they can't do KYC and due diligence checks on who the counterparties are. So they're going to go and trade with large OTC desks because each transaction is KYC, each transaction has chain analytics, everything is tracked, right? So again, the idea that Bitcoin is anonymous is just a complete falsehood. Like, if you've ever used any type of chain analysis software, it's it's like shining 10 spotlights on yourself. You can see the complete transaction history from the genesis of that coin. So the more data you have, the more wallet relationships you have, the more insight you have on all of this, right? So like I said, I think selling your coin here is very foolish because of the people who are entering the space and because of scarcity, right? Even if one country is restricting Bitcoin or restricting cryptocurrencies in general, it doesn't matter. This is happening on a global scale, right? So you're just sundering yourself. You're putting yourself out of the race. It's like, I always use the analogy of, companies, governments, institutions. Everyone's in the horse stalls right before the race. Like, who's going to go out first? Who's going to take that first plunge? And whoever the first movers are, they have a huge advantage, right? The technology is just faster, it's cheaper. They don't necessarily have to use the underlying asset class. I think that's why we've seen a lot of surgence in stable coins, which I think are a great invention. It allows people to counteract sanctions. It allows people to move money all over the world without having to use the SWIFT network, which is, just the dominant rule of the U.S. financial system. That's how they control everything. It's because all the majority of international transfers go through the SWIFT network. But in terms of where we are in the market right now, we've had an impressive pop-up, right? 25% in one day. It was pretty great. But we are still under the 6,000 support level that we were sitting on for, the better part of a year. So I'm not completely sold that we're in a confirmed bull market just yet. I'm looking for the market to either pop up above this level around 59, 6,200, and if it can hold that, turn that support back, this resistance now back into support, what we saw in 2018, I'm going to be feeling a lot more comfortable of calling, the bear market is over. We're now entering another multi-year bull market, and of course we need to keep in mind that the halving is right around the corner. I believe it's sometime early in May 2020, and historically, around 6 months after that, we see over a period of a year and a half, a 10x valuation of the asset class. And again, keeping in mind of the idea of scarcity, I think we're going to see something very similar. I think there's going to be a big rush from institutions to soak up as much of this as possible. And retail traders, they're obviously still pretty butthurt from the fall of 2017 and 2018, right? Yeah. And they're going to be the last ones to come back into the market, I think, as it always is. And I think we're going to, human behavior is just, it repeats on cycles, and that's what the charts are. It's just a visualization of human behavior and patterns, right? That's why you see these patterns over and over and over again, right? Obviously, trading is becoming, even in this space, more automated, a lot more algorithms driven by machine learning and things. But an algorithm is just a set of rules, right? Breathing is an algorithm, right? So, algorithms are I think the term just gets really too much attention. It makes you sound smarter than what you really, what you may really are. Could you see us, for the time being then, if we don't break that, 59 to 62, kind of ranging back down to, that low 3,000s? Say that again? My first target, to see if we would be ranging would be 4,200, 4,400. So it's the idea of Wyckoff theory, right? Market breaks out, and then eventually it comes back to retest that former resistance point. So we had a pretty clear defined range there around 42, 44 for a while. I think we bounced off it crushingly 4 or 5 times until it finally, green dildoed up. So ideally, if it gets rejected where we are around here, 57, 6,000 level, I totally expect us to go back down there and test that. And if that does break, people are looking back on the 2015 fractals, and it made new lows after that. And I think that'd be crushing to a lot of people. As a long-term believer in this asset class and having more color on what's going on the back end of things and from institutions, I think it would just be a tremendous buying opportunity. I think we can look at the network, we can look at the network statistics mining is, doing pretty well. There's obviously a huge squeeze on the little guys, but the big companies like Bitfury, they've really hedged out their businesses, right? Like they've moved a lot into consulting, they've moved a lot into offering chain analytics, other products so they're not just completely, their profit isn't driven just by mining, right? So they can weather those storms. It's really good for them because they can soak up even more market share, right? It drives down the cost of hardware, right? So I think the bear markets are great for building. I personally want to see it continue for another 6-7 months, so we continue this building phase. Because once you enter the mania, it's all about customer satisfaction. It's all about making sure the systems that you've built are maintained and continue to stay operational through the heavy volume loads. And you kind of you move away from research and development. So like these periods are really healthy for the market, in my opinion. Like in the space as a whole, like we've seen, I think the biggest interesting thing that we've seen is the lending market specifically. So I think the next big thing that we're going to see is the development of insurance for a lot of these custodial ships and things, and that's going to give even more confidence to institutional investors to get in this space. I think we're going to see a lot more pension funds getting in here. I think we'll see the funds and hedge funds come back into the space again. So it's all just about liquidity, right? And that liquidity is looking for safety nets. I don't want to deposit $1 billion on an exchange and then worry that if that exchange goes down, well, I just lost $1 billion, right?
Or the owner dies and has the private keys.
Yeah, Quadriga is a perfect example of that, right? So it's crazy it's just crazy that even was in place. Like I've known the Quadriga CX guys since early 2015, and again, everyone was surprised that this happened, but these guys were frauds. Like there was back in 2015 to 2016, there was plenty of discussion about these guys' identity and the shady stuff that they'd been involved in, but it just gets forgotten, right? And if you don't have skin in the game, some Canadian exchange, this guy's a fraud, well, what a surprise, right? There's plenty of those folks in this space. But then once they're actually affected negatively by something, now we suddenly care, right? So people tend not to change their behavior until something negative happens to them. And Quadriga CX is a perfect example of that. And I was honestly surprised that they had $200 million sitting on that exchange.
That's crazy. Chamber, did you hear that? He's known that. So this could put some conspiracies to rest. We're going with straight up fraud here? Is that what's happening?
Well, I mean, I've been on the record. The truth that's been put out there is a little difficult to swallow.
Yeah, I agree. Some facts don't line up, right? But they have a history of shady behavior.
This is the first I'm hearing of the history, though. This is interesting stuff here. This is a real scoop.
Well, yeah, Block would love it. Block would love it. But again, it's all just publicly available information. It's just archived on Reddit, right? So I always find it interesting how the mainstream media just really sucks at doing due diligence and research in this space. They just go to the supposed experts and ask for their opinions, and don't necessarily. Maybe they just don't know where to look.
Who are the supposed experts? I don't even know anymore.
Oh God,
it's not you and I.
No, because they're not going to come to us. We're the actual expert, not the supposed expert.
Right, of course.
Well, I think it's a lot of people just trying to position themselves, and that's a reason why I don't go to conferences or anything like that, because I look at these panels.
Wait, you're not going to Consensus?
No, I'm definitely not going to Consensus. It's plenty of stories of people just getting shilled ICOs while they're, taking a piss in the loo or something, right? I think a lot of the times in my experiences going to these things, it's just a lot of speculators, a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about. They're just looking to get in, get rich, but they don't actually understand the technology. They don't actually care, right? All they care about is the short-term gains, and I think that's pretty universal for a lot of people, just with the short-term thinking, not having the long-term outlook on things, and that's detrimental to being successful in this space, in my experience. Everyone who I know is successful has always had the long-term mindset, looking at the big picture of things. One trade is one trade, but that's not going to make you as a trader. Right? You need a consistent track record that only develops with time. But yeah, I've never been a big fan of the conference scene. I think the only one that I would attend would probably be the Magical Crypto Conference.
Yeah, we actually just had, it's funny you say that, we just had Riccardo Spagni on the other day, and he was telling us all about it, and their lineup looks pretty awesome, actually. So yeah, it's really good.
But they've brought in people who have a history in crypto in the space. They understand the technology. They've been here through the history of it all. They understand the space. It's not just, oh, I'm from Goldman Sachs. Listen to me, because they think that name has value in this space. It doesn't. Similar to your dollars, right? So, a lot of those guys, they just come in with their old ideologies. All these people are trained from the same space, the same educational institution, so they have all the same way of thinking, which is very rigid. How they value these ICOs, they treat them as companies, but they're not. They're networks, right? So you need to be looking at complete different metrics, right?
So you mentioned a really good point there. What metrics, would you use to value something like that versus how they value a company?
Yeah, so I think Trace Mayer came out with, the 7 network effects of Bitcoin, and that's something that I look a lot into. So, what's the network level activity look like? How many transactions are being made, right? Like how many wallet addresses are being created? What's the US dollar value of those transactions that are going through? Obviously, with SegWit and stuff, it compacts the amount of transactions, right? But we're still seeing a steady linear increase on the transaction. Of course, some of that's attributed to Varyblock and stuff, but we're still seeing a nice linear growth on things. So again, I'm looking at the hash rate, right? Like are people willing to put up the money to buy miners, pay for the electricity, and actually secure this network, right? Bitcoin's big proposition is the security benefit of it, right? Like a lot of these smaller coins, they're susceptible to 51% attacks for a couple $100,000, right? Like ETC has seen a couple, but I think the market has shown you people don't care if these small coins get attacked because there's not much money. People don't have a stake in it, right? Obviously, it's more difficult and more expensive to 51% attack a larger network such as Bitcoin or Ethereum. But yeah, those are the metrics that I'm looking for. And obviously, sentiment, using Google Analytics, Twitter, and all that stuff. That's something that social sentiment as well, that I look into. So just are people talking about the coin? But the big thing is just usage, right? I look at a lot of these coins, even in the hype in 2017, like Cardano, for example, IOTA, like all these fucking coins that were over $1 billion market cap, which is outrageous, like just gross to think about. Nobody was using them. Like you'd have to go through 17 pages on the blockchain to find one transaction, and it's like this thing's worth fucking $4 billion. It's completely irrational, right? And if I was a fund manager, I would be looking to short all this stuff, but it's dangerous, right? Because all these markets are so correlated to Bitcoin and stuff, right? Like if Bitcoin goes up, you generally think, okay, well, everything else is going to rise too. Things are looking pretty good. So even if a coin is fundamentally like the shittiest of the shit coin, it's still difficult to short it because
because the rising tide raises all ships, right?
Exactly. Even if those ships deserve to be left at the bottom of the ocean.
There you go. There you go. But one more question, then we'll move on to something fun and wrap up here. So in your opinion, can some of those metrics, such as usage and things like that, transactions, can some of that be faked? I have... Sure. I think of EOS, that comes to mind, where they have all this supposed transactions and volume. However,
Tron is another one I hear of too.
Yeah, and then it comes out, but then there's something that came out that said that, maybe half of those were fake volume or just push volume, or you know what I mean? So how do you value that, or how do you even know what to look for there?
Well, I'm not just looking for one metric, as the holy grail. I'm looking for all of them put together, right? So another network effect that I didn't mention is the developer network effect, which I think is probably one of the most important ones. And the reason why is because there's such a limited amount of people that actually have a very deep understanding of this technology and are actually able to, code things and build things. If you, for example, take like ICOs, if you have, 12 ICOs all claiming to do the same thing, I know for a fact that there's not, 100 people that understand this well enough. So I know, well, the odds are, the majority of these projects aren't going to be able to deliver. So another good metric would be looking at the GitHub, looking at how active the team is with commits and things. And a lot of these projects, you go and look at them, and there hasn't been a commit in the past 6 or 7 months. Yet, the hype PR machine is going crazy, right? I think looking at the metrics, especially with ICOs, how much are they investing of their raises into development versus or just legal or marketing, right? The bigger the party, the bigger the scam, right? I think that's what Mark Cuban thrown out there as some words of advice, and it's definitely true in cryptocurrency. So it's not just looking at the one network metric; it's taking them all and just seeing a trend between all of them. Obviously, like I said, Very Block earlier, it inflates the amount of transactions that appear on the chain, right? But, they account for, I think it was 25 or 30% when they were doing their run-up a couple months ago. But again, you just take all these metrics together, and it's going to give you a lot more insight and a better picture into are people actually using this or not. So metrics can be faked, right? But you can't fake them all. And the developer and the commits on the GitHub, it's all transparent, right? That's what's so great about this space. You just have to go do the research. You just have to go look. And that's one of the great quotes from The Big Short. We did something that other people didn't do. We looked, right? And I think that's what a lot of people don't do in this space. They just buy into the hype. They just buy into the hype of something. So just being due diligent. One of the great sayings in Bitcoin is verify, don't trust, and just live by that, right? All of this the blockchain's completely transparent. It's a public ledger. There's nothing to hide, right? So just get out there and do your due diligence. It's financially in your benefit.
Chamber, are you doing your due diligence out there?
No. I have people on, and they tell me what to do, and I just do that.
Well, that's the power of an influencer-based society, right? I saw this documentary, an article, where kids were asked, what do they want to be when they grow up? A lot of them responded YouTube or Instagram influencers, right? And
that's crazy.
Yeah. From a marketing perspective, we've moved away from a persuasion base, so companies aren't looking to persuade you to buy their products. They're leveraging trust that you have with other people, and that was the rise of the influencer-based marketing.
Chamber, do you trust me?
Trust you? Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool. I got a bridge that I really think is a great investment for you. So, just send over $10,000, and I'll get you. It's actually a bridge security token.
It's I'm sending it right over. Hang on.
Okay, perfect. All right, Chamber. We going elsewhere here now? Are we going to do this?
I think so. I think it'll be.
This
fun.
is going to be the worst draft of all time. All right, I'll let you explain what we're going to do here.
We like to do a little bit of research on our guests, so I'll creep your Twitter, your Instagram, to get some sort of idea what you like to do for fun. And I got to tell you that you are one of the most committed people to crypto that I've ever seen, because there was very little wavering for you on any of the social media that I could find.
Yeah,
but you did mention. I messaged you and you'd mentioned you like hiking and politics. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, politics is pretty, a bunch of them were talking before the show. We're like, well, politics is it's a hot button item. But what if we did something a little bit different? What if we drafted our favorite U.S. presidents?
All right. So the way this works is we do this all the time with different things. We've done superheroes. We've done, barbecue foods. We've done all kinds of stuff here. So the way it's going to work is like fantasy football style snake draft. So we're going to have you go first. We'll draft 4 U.S. presidents.
4 U.S. presidents.
We'll do 4.
Can I put this in as a rule too? We are not allowed. So both Nick and I, do not reside in the U.S. I think we should eliminate any sort of Googling of U.S. presidents, so it's only what you know off the top of your head.
Geez. Okay. Well, that's fine. I can name 4.
I can definitely name 4. Now, the trick is, can we name 12 individually between the 3 of us?
All right. Okay, that's a good rule. All right, so Nick, you're going to go first. So you'll have the first pick, and then it'll go Chamber, and then myself, and then I'll go twice, and then back down the line until we have 4.
Okay, sounds good. So Roosevelt.
That's a popular one. I figured that would go.
Which one?
There were multiple? I'm not
There was 2
U.S. presidents.
There were 2.
Teddy.
I mean,
Teddy
you've got,
Roosevelt.
yeah,
Teddy.
you've got to be talking about Teddy, I would think, right?
I hope so.
Well, the other one's Franklin. So,
I was gonna say Freddie.
yeah, Freddie or Teddy. All right, so you've got. Wait, which one did you say? You said Teddy Roosevelt, right?
Yeah, he went Teddy. He went the adventurer, not the
Okay.
polio.
You're up, Chamber.
I'm gonna go. It's fun. I'm trying to figure out which way I'm gonna go with this because there's so many trolly things I could do.
I'm going.
You going full
fan
troll?
vote. Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Let's go Ronald Reagan with the number 2 overall.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, I'm gonna go. I mean, I'm going just classic. I will go with what I would think would be everybody's first choice if you were just saying presidents off the top of your head. I will go George Washington.
Classic.
And I get to make my second
twice,
pick
right? Yeah.
as well. I mean, I'm just gonna stack these 2. It's a good stack. I'm gonna go George Washington number 1. I will go Abe Lincoln number 2.
Okay, so with my second pick,
You're gonna pick Ben Franklin, who wasn't a president.
No. Actually, it's funny you say this because I just finished watching John Adams, the HBO miniseries. It was really good. Highly recommend. Turns out George Washington was way taller than you anticipated.
I would imagine he's probably pretty tall. Is he
Yeah,
taller than you?
I wasn't anticipating tall, but he was.
Is he taller than you?
I think like maybe same height, maybe like kind of like that 6'3", 6'4" range.
Interesting.
But no, that's not who I'm going with. I'm not going John Adams. I am gonna go Ronald Reagan. Then I'm gonna follow it up with John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, it's a
I
classic.
knew that wasn't going to get back to me.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, you got 2 picks here.
I'm probably going to go with George Bush Sr., early 90s.
Whoa!
Yeah, the greatest president ever, Donald J. Trump.
I was going to pick him for my last pick if he was still hanging around. All right, so
I guess I'll
what is
go
Nick's team so far? So Nick's got Teddy Roosevelt,
Yes.
George Bush Sr., and Trump.
Donald Trump.
Wow, this is going to be a power vote. So what we do here, Nick, is we put these out on Twitter and have the people vote on who picks the best draft. So you're looking at a power lineup right there. All right, Chamber, your third pick.
So I have what do I have? So I got Ronald Reagan. I got JFK. I'm going on the other side of the troll spectrum. I'll go Barack Hussein Obama.
I knew you were going to do that.
I was going to go Trump. But
I knew you were going to do that. All right. Dang, so I'm finishing out my draft here.
yeah, you get 2 again.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to go with... all right, so it doesn't matter what order I pick them because
No.
I have both picks. So I'm actually distantly related to this U.S. president.
Interesting.
In fact, my grandfather on my mother's side shares the same first name as this president. I'm going with Grover Cleveland.
Ooh.
One of the less good ones.
Yes, right. But I am only picking him because he is a distant relative. So I have presidential blood, Chamber. You know,
No big
You
deal.
run for the
no big
office.
deal.
that's right. I'm a legacy. Let's see, and then finally, oh man, this is hard now. I don't know who to pick. Oh damn. Let's go with. Man, it'd be hard to fuck this draft up going Washington and Lincoln 1-2, but I'm about to do it.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, right, exactly. Let's go with. Damn, I don't even know who to pick. I'm gonna go with William Howard Taft.
Oh,
yeah.
I was thinking Taft.
Because he's, kind of a jolly fellow.
I like it.
He's
Great mustache.
He reminds me of Andre the Giant. Yep. All right.
My last one's
I got.
It's going to have to be Richard Nixon. Went out with a bang.
Chamber was your pick, though.
I know.
Were you going to pick
okay.
Richard Nixon?
No, that's all right. We'll give Tricky Dick to Nick.
All right.
All right. I'm going to go with my last one. I have. I feel like mine's not awful. One second. Okay, we're gonna go with my favorite Simpsons character, Clinton. Bill. I don't know what Bill's middle name is.
Chambers got all the Democrats.
I got Ronald Reagan too, the ultimate the Republican.
Yes, but are you the only? I think you might be the only one that actually picked a Democrat.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea what Taft.
Wait,
Lincoln,
what was
and
Taft? Hold
Washington
on.
were.
I don't know what Taft was. Well, George Washington wasn't anything.
Correct.
Abraham Lincoln, I'm pretty sure
He was
a
a Republican. Yeah.
What did I pick? Taft. Taft was
and
a
Grover
Republican.
Cleveland.
And Grover. I don't know what Grover Cleveland was. I should know that. He's my family. All right. So you picked. Who was your last pick?
Bill Clinton.
Okay, and then Tricky Dick goes to Nick.
That's right.
Wow. All right. Do you have the final tallies here?
Yeah, I got it here. So I got Nick coming in with Teddy Roosevelt, George Bush Sr., Donald Julian Trump. I don't know his middle name.
Demetrius.
Richard Nixon. That's Nick's team. My team is Ronald Reagan, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and you have George Washington. You have Abraham Lincoln, Grover Cleveland, and what's Taft's first name? John? I don't know.
William Howard Taft.
William Howard Taft.
Yeah. What a draft.
Classic draft.
We're going to put these out and see who the people vote for. But that was our presidential draft. We are experts on cryptocurrency
Can we put
politics,
the presidential music?
If I can find that, I will put it in. But anyway,
you can have that.
That's going to do it for us. Nick, thank you so much for coming on. We hope you had a good time. That was awesome conversation, awesome insight. We want to just give you a chance to, plug yourself. Where can people find you? Anything you're working on that you want people to know about?
Yeah, you can find me on my Twitter at MBTCPizPie. Most of the time I spend my days and my hours working with Redacted Capital. It's an OTC brokerage and clearinghouse. Offer Bitcoin liquidity, alts, SaaS, etc. And getting our mining and infrastructure company off the ground called Square Mining. It's basically what I spend my time on 24/7. Like you said, he didn't find much of anything else other than crypto. What I do with my life.
That's so true.
I said when I got in, like I said, I would give 10 years of my life to this, and we're 7 years in. It's looking pretty good.
You're gonna watch so much Game of Thrones in a couple of years.
Oh yeah, got a lot of binge watching to do.
Do you so what once 10 years hits, are you going to re-up that contract or what?
The way things are looking, probably, but my goal is to just retire when I'm 35 so I can go de-stress. Obviously,
someone's going to get me a
DeLorean
so I can do that.
Man, I need to get on that level. I'm 3 years away from that.
I got to go back to 2017.
You'll hit another halving cycle. I think people just need to understand. Bitcoin moves in cycles. 4 years is the magic number. So coming into the space with a 4-year outlook, or from 20 to 2024. Yeah, that's what I would recommend to people. Just don't be short-sighted. Look at the bigger picture. One of the big value propositions of Bitcoin is that its monetary policy is completely transparent. I know what it's going to be doing in 4 years. I know what it's going to be doing in 8 years, right? And the next halving is very important because we're moving to 2% inflation schedule, which puts us in lines with the ideal growth of an economy, as has the central banks. So, I think it's going to be very interesting next decade here.
That's a really interesting perspective, and I think it's correct, and I think it's a good way to look at it. So take that advice. We don't give financial advice. We give #financial advice. But take that as you will. What was our hashtag today?
The hashtag is #BigDickFiatRollers. That's #BigDickFiatRollers.
Fiat roller, yeah. Awesome. Chamber, anything else you want to add?
No, check out our new and improved website. Cynthia spent a bunch of time improving it. It's pretty awesome. I was going to throw away all of our money to pay somebody to do it, and turns out Cynthia's a genius.
Yeah, I tried to talk you out of that, and then Cynthia actually came through with the upgrades. But awesome. Also, thank you to anybody who's supported us by buying some T-shirts. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, Invest Noir and Got Miner. I know the two off the top of my head, and my mommy. Thanks, Mommy, for buying a T-shirt.
That's what your family's getting for fucking Christmas.
Is that right?
This is just a bunch of REKT podcast gear. That's awesome. Anyway, that's it. Thank you again, Nick. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody go follow Nick on Twitter. And until next time, don't get wrecked, and that is financial advice.